God's side. He walked in the ways of David, and he did not turn aside.